Hello everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make this Tree of Life wire wrapped pendant. It took me a little while to make this video because there are so many tutorials out there on Tree of Life. I just felt like, there's already so much out there. And I wanted to bring something new to the table if I was going to make a tutorial. So I think, as far as I could tell, I could not find a video on a Tree of Life that's over a gemstone or some kind of stone that has the frame on the back like this. So hopefully this will provide you some new information on how to make it in this style. Another style of making it is to have the frame be on the side like it is in this pendant here, in which case, to prevent it from slipping out the back, you would also need to add a wire to the back, like I did here. So to make it in this style, the frame is smaller, and this is why the stone does not slip out the back, and it doesn't obviously come out the front because the tree is holding it in place. And this has actually been my favorite style because with the frame on the sides, the wire is thick. You have to use pretty thick wire. I like 24 gauge so that it doesn't move and your tree doesn't get distorted as you wear it. And because it's thick, you form these gaps. Like it pushes the frame up away from the stone, then you get these gaps on the edges. And I personally am not the biggest fan of that, so that's why I really like to have the frame in the back. But this is definitely another option, and it would be really tedious, but you could also, wrap wire to fill in all these gaps with wire as well. So lots of options for you, but this is what I'm going to show you today, and it is oxidized copper. So you're going to see me working with bare copper. And another thing I want to do is give credit to the person that showed me how to make these wavy branches. It's a YouTube tutorial that I came across, and I will link that below. And it is a Tree of Life tutorial, but it's not over a gemstone. It's just, the circle Tree of Life. And she did these wavy branches. She did them a little differently. I like to use round nose pliers now when I do it, but that's where I got this idea, so I do want to, give credit to where I saw that. I did not invent making the wavy branches, so I will link that video down below. But anyways, so if you want to see how I made this pendant, then just keep watching. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some 24 gauge wire. I'm just using bare copper here, and I'm going to cut a whole bunch of these little strips of it, and they are about twice as tall as my stone. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold them all together. I'm going to leave some room here at the end, and I'm going to grab with my pliers. Oops. Sometimes it helps to twist it a little bit by hand. This way you can kind of more successfully grab it with your pliers without it all coming uncoiled. And then I'm going to take just a little ways up. Depends on how you want your tree to look. Do you want it to have a tall tree trunk and shorter branches, or a really short little trunk and then tall branches? It's just, there's so many different looks to these trees that you can do. So I'm just taking it with another set of pliers and just twisting it to form my trunk. And so you can do this until you are satisfied with the way that it's looking. Another thing that I sometimes like to do, let me uncoil this a tiny bit so I can show you. So this way it's kind of the easiest, and then let me figure out, oh, here we go. And then another way is I just do a tiny bit for the trunk, and then I like kind of split it roughly in half, and I do these little 2 branches like this. and then I grab them and I form kind of the top of my trunk out of the two branches. So it just gives it a little bit of a different look. It's just like a more bumpy trunk of the tree. So it's up to you. Play around with it. And then what I like to do is, make the branches. Again, you can make lots of branches. I start out with 2, like this. And then I split these up so you can kind of have these turn into slightly smaller ones, like this. Just grab little sections of the wire. Let me twist this one a little more. Kind of like that, and then you can separate these out. These will be like the individual little branches of your tree, and you can do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing on this side as well. Alright, so here's my tree. I just kind of made more branches and twisted everything a little more. The more you twist, the wavier the branches become. They just naturally start to curve if you just keep twisting them. So I like that look better, but rather than really straight branches, but it's up to you. And then I also separated these little wires on the bottom for the roots so that it'll be easy when it's time to attach. And then these as well, I got them all separated. And you want to, as you're doing this, you want to take a look at how it looks on your stone, to make sure that the shape and size of it, you don't want, like, for example, these branches to go all the way out here and then they'll, not fit. You want the tree to be able to fit over your stone. So this is a jasper gemstone, by the way. And then I'm taking a piece of 18 gauge wire. Again, this is bare copper. And what you want to do is form a frame that is roughly the same as your stone. So I want my bale to be up here. I want my stone to go like this. So this is the bottom. This is the top. So I want this frame. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to be in the back, but I don't want it to be any bigger than the stone. I want it to be just slightly smaller like this, so it's not visible. So the bottom portion is fine. And then here for the top, if you have some pliers, that'll probably make your job easier. Then I'm using my nails here, but roughly just I'm bending it while holding it because I don't want it to slip around as I'm doing this, but I'm just trying to, there we go. This will be my bale. So this is my frame. And next is kind of the trickiest part, is attaching your stone to your frame. So what helps a lot is tape. It's up to you how you go about this, but what I'm going to do is first I'm going to tape this frame to the stone. So I'm going to position it. So I'm going to attach my roots first. So I'm going to keep the tape up here. Obviously, you don't want to tape over the part that you're going to be attaching to. So I'm keeping my tape up here at the top because I'm going to attach my roots here at the bottom. Now I'm taking another piece of tape. Oops. I'm taking my tree. I'm putting my tree over the stone. I am placing it, roughly how I want it to go. So you can kind of move these top branches out of the way for now. Like, obviously it's nice, when they're going all in the right direction, but just to keep it out of the way. So this is how I want my tree to go. This is where I want my roots to be. So I'm taking another piece of tape. This is painter's tape, blue painter's tape, and I'm placing that this way. All right, so now all nice and secure. All right, so now you take these roots and you bend them. Make sure that, like if you want them to cross over, you can do that, but if you don't want them to cross over, then here's your chance to get them all straight and to the back, like this. Okay, here they are on the back. The ones that I'm using, it says right here, tweezer nose. So they're tweezer nose pliers from Xuron. They're just tiny, skinny little pliers. And what you want to do, I like to start with the sides. If you, whenever you start wrapping it around here, it's going to naturally just kind of pull your tree in that direction. So say you do like all the wires on the side, and then you take a look at your tree, you're going to notice that it's kind of shifted to the side. So I do one at a time, kind of on the sides going this way. If you start with these first, it'll just kind of pull your tree down a little bit, which actually in my case that's totally fine because my branches are actually, I mean my roots are actually pretty long looking. So I'll go ahead and do this bottom part because I do want to move my tree down a little bit. So I'm just taking the pliers, pushing my wire underneath this base wire. Here it is coming up here. I'm holding with my finger here just to like, so it doesn't get pulled super hard. And now pulling. You want to pull firmly, but not as hard as you can because you might move your tree out of place. Just once you get the hang of it, you'll know the right way. Now I'm using these pliers to do it again. And I can't really see what I'm doing here on camera, but basically you want to do this with all of the roots. I think this might be easier with round nose pliers. Here we go. It's coming out now. And the longer your roots, the easier. So if you're really worried about this part, cut yourself really long pieces of wire and then you'll have a lot to work with here. I like to do this like 2 or 3 times. So you have 2 little loops here. So I think a 3rd loop would really be ideal. 2 is okay. This will just ensure that it's really secure. What you can do now, if your wire is ending, is you just cut it. So here's my little tip of my wire here, right? So I want to cut it because if I just press it down, it's going to be kind of just right here. I don't want my very end of my wire to be right here so that it can kind of get caught on things. So I'm going to take my cutters, I'm going to try to get really in there and just cut the wire so that you can't really tell. So here's the little end of it. Can you see the little end? You can't feel it this way because it's shorter than the base wire. You can't feel it over here. So it's good. So now I would maybe do this one next and then do my sides and just kind of go and attach them this way. I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera because it's really tedious and really time consuming. So basically that's what you're going to do now for the next little while. Alright, so I finished this portion. Here, that's what it looks like up close. My camera will focus. There we go. So they're all wrapped around. And then here are my branches, I mean my roots. So now I'm taking my round nose pliers. And again, this is optional. Maybe you like the way this looks, or you want to squish them all together, however you like. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm taking it, my round nose pliers, and I'm twisting like this. And then I'm just going just a tiny way down, and now I'm twisting in the opposite direction, and like this. if you are using wire that is not raw, like this one is just, it's copper all throughout. But if you're using like plated wire, I use silver plated sometimes, or like enameled wire, use pliers around those pliers like this that are nylon. Here, let me grab mine. Okay, here they are. So they will not scratch your wire. They're a little bit more of a pain in the butt to use because they're so slippery. But if you are worried about scratching your wire, then these will work a little better. But because this is just copper, if I scratch it, you can't see. Like there's not a different color underneath. So I'm just using these. And if you're careful with it, you're not necessarily going to scratch it. It's just something that could happen. So see how these are wavy now? Let me hold it the right way. These are the roots. If you like this look, make them wavy. If you don't like it, make it straight. You can put sharp angles in them using regular pliers. Just bend, sharp little angles into them. Basically, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make the rest of them wavy, and then we'll do the top portion. Alright, so they're done, and you can see because they kind of pulled a little bit on that frame, it's starting to come out from the back. You can kind of see it. So what you can do, I like to do this on my little metal block, but just anywhere on a hard surface, is you're rolling. You press down and roll and push that frame, there we go, back into place. Now you can't see it anymore. It's on the back. So next step is we're going to do the top. So you're going to remove your tape. And these do move around a tiny bit. Like with normal, like touching it and rubbing it, it doesn't. But if you, take your fingernail and you push, you can move. Like, here, I'll show you. See how I'm moving this up? Now I'm moving it down. So you can move them into position, and they are, they remain a little bit movable. But I find that with just normal wear, they don't like move all way out of whack or anything. All right, so I'm taking off my tape. And you have to kind of pick up your tree, get the tape out from under it. All right. So now your stone will come out, so be careful. It's not really truly attached. So now I'm making sure my frame is smaller than my stone. I'm separating out my tree branches, and I'm arranging them in whatever way you like. And then you want to push down on your stone so it hasn't slipped up, because it can definitely do that. Take your tape over this bottom portion. And I don't want to tape right there because I'm going to attach this branch here. So there we go. Now it's going to be held in place. Now I'm taking a little bit of scrap wire because these move right now. So when I'm attaching my branches, it's going to move my whole frame. So I'm taking this scrap wire and I am attaching these two base wires to each other so that they do not move out of place. I'm just going to do it just around the single wire a few times to get the scrap wire out of my way. Alright, so we're all set here. So with your branches, after you have them exactly how you want it to go, you can bend them back, just like exactly how we did with the roots. Something like this. And then attach them to the back exactly in the same manner that we attach the roots, by taking your pliers, and this is quite a bit longer, so you will be able to coil it many times, but again, 3 is kind of what I shoot for, doing this about 3 times, and then you can trim it, pinch down so it's out of the way, and I would do side, side, kind of keep going up this way until they are all attached. So that is what I'm going to do now off camera. Alright, so I've attached them all. One of the last ones I've attached was up here, and I've left this little excess. Sorry, I should have probably told you guys to do that ahead of time, but try to leave one little end. Here's what it looks like from the front. You can now remove the tape, and your tree stays in place. If your frame becomes visible, just press it or roll it like I showed you before. Here's what it looks like. I'm going to do the same thing to these branches up here by bending them with my round nose pliers. So I'm just going to do this to all of them and make them wavy. And then for the bail, so you can remove your scrap wire now that's holding this together, because now it's being held together by your tree branches. And what you can do is you can weave around these 2 wires to make your bail, or you can just make a plain bail. So to make a plain bail, I do want to secure these 2 wires a tiny bit to each other, because if you see, they do kind of move. See, the frame moves. So if you're going to weave around them, it doesn't matter, they're going to get secured. But if you're going to leave them like this, which is what I'm going to do, I am going to just weave around them on the very bottom, just to secure them to each other. And if you forgot to leave this little piece, then you can leave this piece. I'm going to trim these ends. And pinch this down. So now you want to take something round. Let me press it down so it's not visible here from the front. Okay. So push this forward. Take something round that you want to shape your bail around, and bend these back. Now you've made a bail here on the back. I'm just bending these a tiny bit so they don't cross over each other, because they were crossing over each other. And now what you can do with this wire is you can wrap it around this little bail, just to have a little extra security so the bail doesn't move. Just like this a few times, and then I'm going to do it around just one of the little wires here. Alright, so then you want to trim the ends, or leave them. I mean, I don't know how long yours will be, so maybe that'll be fine. I'm just pressing this down so it doesn't stick out. There we go. So You can trim these a little bit or leave them long and make some decorative little loops. Oops, sorry, I had a little piece there that was stuck like that. And like this. So now that's done and it's entirely complete. Well, except for the fact that I still have to finish these. So I'll finish that and I'll come right back. So this is the finished pendant. I also went ahead and oxidized the copper. So here's what it looks like in the front. Here's what it looks like in the back. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to check out my Facebook page, it is www.facebook.com/oxanacrafts.